Welcome back. You're now watching the lifestyle segment of the weekend show. Topic of discussion is International Day, World Day of Drugs. Yesterday, June 26th, was commemorated across the world as the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, also known as World Drug Day. It's celebrated annually on the 26th of June. The theme of World Drug Day 2020 is Better Knowledge for Better Care. The field of addressing the drug problem has been plagued by misinformation of many kinds. This year's theme aims at improving the understanding of the world drug problem and at fostering greater international cooperation for countering its impact on health, governance, and security. Joining us in today's program to discuss this, we have
Manali Vora, who has 10 years experience in dietetics and food service management, a sport nutritionist, and a pediatric nutritionist and child care management expert. We also have with us Chinyereugo Udensi, a clinical psychologist at Neem Foundation. Also joining us from the United Nations Office of Drug and Crime, we have Evelyn, Chioma, Joseph. Welcome to the lifestyle segment of the weekend show. So Chinyereugo Udensi from Neem Foundation, you're joining us virtually. Can you hear me? Good morning, Chinyere. Yes, the last time we had you was here in the studio. So let's just go straight to it. From your experience with what you do with Neem Foundation, which plays majorly in mental health, do we first of all have a drug problem in Nigeria?
Yes, we do have a drug problem in Nigeria. That's something that the government, international organizations, everybody is coming to the realization that there is quite a serious drug problem in Nigeria that needs to be addressed. And I think that's part of the reason why we are also pushing for the mental health bill that looks to provide better services for substance abuse here in Nigeria.
Speak to us more about this mental health bill, Chinyere. What does it propose?
Yes. So it proposes for better service provision, professional training of professionals, places where people can go to receive care, because we know that there aren't enough rehabilitation centers that are equipped adequately to offer better services to clients in Nigeria who may have issues with substance abuse. We find that a lot of the time in Nigeria, our approach to dealing with substance is by just incarcerating the people, locking them up, and not really dealing with the problem of the why that behavior is taking place. So a lot of this is geared towards providing better support for these people and helping them through this journey. And because we realize that in our practice, people who go into substance abuse or people who are addicted, it's not necessarily that we wake up one morning and say we want to be addicted or we want to use substances. Yes, there is a timeline and things lead down that path. But it's not necessarily about, the person is a criminal, that's why we should lock them away. There's more to it. And I think it's time that we looked into it. I like the theme for this year that says better knowledge for better care. And that's what it's about. We need to actually understand what it is, and then we would be able to offer better care to the people who are addicted or who have abused of substance.
Okay, Evelyn, you work with the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime. In most cases, we've seen drug use associated, affiliated with crime. We understand fully that trafficking and sale is illegal and can be criminalized. But when it comes to the users who use these drugs or abuse it, do you feel it's right for it to be criminalized and for them to also be prosecuted, or do they just need the right services and care?
Thank you so much. I just want to make this clear. I am the Program Manager, Society for the Improvement of Rural People, and the Contract Project Officer for United Nations Office on Drug and Crime on DPTC, Enugu State. Okay, thank you. On talking about criminalization of people who use drugs, that shouldn't be, because we've come to realize that we are actually trying to make the general public realize that drug use is a health issue and not a criminal issue. That someone is addicted to drugs, it's not out of the willpower of this person not to change. It's more of an addiction which this person can't really stop without getting a help. without getting help from the professionals that will help those people or that will help this individual come out of his or her drug use. So in the past, we've seen a lot of criminalization for people who use drugs, a lot of arrest, a lot of incarceration and all that. But thanks to UNODC, a lot has been done. There is a lot of shift, there is a lot of change in terms of educating and sensitizing the law enforcement agency in terms of making them realize that drug use is not what we should kind of treat with force, is what we need to show empathy to this person to make a change. Roll this person into treatment and
Yeah.
gradually this person have to, drug use shouldn't be criminalized. Okay, so we should provide help. We should come from the health angle in terms of handling this issue. Thank you.
Evelyn, I love the fact that you talked about the sensitization work that you do. The theme of this year's International World Drugs Day is better knowledge for better care. So what programs, how specifically are you carrying out this sensitization campaign? And how would you rate the Nigerian populace in terms of knowledge and information that they possess to actually help these drug addicts?
Okay. In the past 2015, UNODC kind of funded our organization to have what we call a community-based drug intervention for people who use drugs, more especially the youth. This program is to sensitize those people, provide treatment, and as well, I so much love the CS team, which says better knowledge for better care. And I believe also that UNODC have actually keyed in this process in terms of providing a platform where the general public, the critical stakeholders in each community will be sensitized on this issue of drugs. Last year, this has been going on in, they empowered 15 CSOs to do that across Nigeria, which our organization, SEP Nigeria, was one of them. So what we do is to involve various stakeholders, like the traditional rulers of various communities, the religious leaders, the healthcare workers, the security officers, provide them with adequate knowledge on this issue of drugs. And the aim is to increase their knowledge, okay, to reduce stigma and also to increase the service uptake for people who use drugs. So when we less the stigmatization, we will see this drug issue as a health problem. And when these people have this knowledge, they will be able to have a better knowledge for prevention. What are the things parents, individuals, everyone needs to do in order to prevent this?
Okay, I think we're having a bit of
In order to prevent individuals from getting involved in drugs, for prevention, what do we need to know? You start, parents, everyone needs to be on board in terms of having the adequate knowledge and accurate information about drugs. And what are the care services available that you know? Do you know about the outpatient treatment that we are?
Okay, I'm going to.
Can I go on?
Yeah, just give me a second, Evelyn. I'm going to bring Manali Vora in. We've noticed that drug use is also quite common with people in the fitness community. Now, being a nutritionist and a fitness coach, a lot of trainers advise their trainees, people who work out, to take certain supplements, and in some cases it leads to them being addicted to it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just cocaine and marijuana we talk about when we talk about some of these drug issues. But fitness, we have noticed in recent time, has gone side by side, even professionally, with a lot of drug use and abuse. Is there a correlation from the part of the trainers and fitness coaches yourselves and nutritionists, and the importance of it to their work and to fitness?
Well, yeah, this is a nice topic which you raised right now. Yes, definitely the trainers, the bodybuilders go for performance enhancer drugs just for an enhanced performance in their sport. but there are rules and regulations who monitor it, and they differ from country to country. But although yes, it definitely leads to a lot of health issues in the future for them, like the testosterone level decreases, they are not able to function properly, their liver, there's a liver damage, there's a kidney damage. These all risks are involved. It is very important to spread an awareness where we need to actually tell them that this is not the sport which you're, the performance enhancers drugs which you're opting for are not really worth it, because at the end of the glamour, the performance, when the performance is at peak, everything fine, sounds good, but then when they end their career, they end up with a very bad health. So yes, definitely, there are the sports performance drugs which are having like AMP. For example, these drugs are to be administered on horses, but then these drugs are even administered on sportsmen who are into bodybuilding. So which is really incorrect. We need a proper rules and regulation, worldwide to stop this in fitness industry.
How do we go about identifying individuals who have a drug habit that needs to be broken? What are some telltale signs that we can look out for?
There are many physiological, physical signs. For example, bloodshot eyes, the nerves gets pumped up, and the physique of someone who is on the sports performance drug and someone who has a clean body is completely different. It is very much visible at the first go. And second thing, there is a behavioral change, the anger, the aggressiveness, into someone who's on steroids. It's totally different from someone who is not on performance drugs. So these are some physical and behavioral parameters where we can, judge them on basis of whether they are taking sports or performance drugs or not. Besides this, there are many chemical tests, blood tests which can be carried on to just to find out whether they are on these drugs or not.
Okay, thank you, Vora. I want to bring Chinyere back. We speak a lot about mental health on this show because it's quite important. It's something we didn't speak enough about as a nation in the past, but now we do speak a lot about it. And most people who do drugs do it as an escape from something, which means there, in most cases, are already the mental health issues which people may be going through, and so they decide to escape. And clinical psychologists like yourself tell us the importance of rest and reset and unplugging. And so for some people, their way of unplugging and escaping is using drugs, and then they get addicted to it. How can we skip that step? Because most of these people already have the mental issues they are dealing with before they now get hooked on drugs as an escape. How do we skip that step?
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the fact that some of the reasons why people can use is because they want to escape or they want to deal with some of the challenges that they're going through. There's a lot of conversation about the rise in substance use during this COVID-19 lockdown and pandemic. And most people are using drugs to help them cope with the challenges that they're going through.
Yeah.
Is that the right way to go about it? No. There are other helpful coping mechanisms that we can adopt that are healthier to our bodies and to our lives. Somebody who isn't or who hasn't started using drugs, I think the most important thing is that we keep having these conversations where they understand. So it's about educating people to say, you might find it very helpful, but it has, quite dire consequences on your health, on your body, on your function in your daily life. So we advise you to rather find other things that you can do to help you cope with your challenges. There are lots of activities that one can do, lots of leisure activities that one can do to help them deal with stress, deal with pressures that they may be feeling, because stress and pressure will always be there. That's part of life, but we need to find better ways to cope with it. And for somebody who is already using at the moment, advise the person, if you're really struggling, to look for assistance, look for help so that you can break that habit. Because at some point in the journey to addiction, the person still has control. But the moment you get into a point of addiction, it more becomes a brain disease where your body feels like it needs that drug to survive. You need to check into a center and go through a process of rehabilitation that would involve some detoxification. The therapist can take you through some cognitive behavior therapy and get your family involved to help you, support you through that journey. Because the journey of treatment for substance abuse and for addiction is for the rest of your life. It's quite a long journey for the rest of your life that you are going to have to go through, and you're going to have to consciously, constantly make an effort to remain healthy and to remain clean. So I keep on telling people, why do you even want to start when the healing process is going to cost you a lot more? There's so many other things that we can do to cope with our stress and to cope with anxiety, to cope with our pressures, and let's look at those other things that we can do.
That's brilliant, Chinyere. Thank you so much for your contribution. Evelyn, let me bring you in here for your final words. So for the parents who are watching, for the children who are watching, what is the role of parents in ensuring that their children stay drug-free? I remember during high school and university, there was a lot of peer pressure to try things. You know, just try it. It doesn't mean that you would, end up being addicted to it.
And you look weak when you don't
and you look exactly, but I stood my ground because I knew where I was coming from. I knew I was
going back to.
Exactly, and I knew where I was going back to. I knew I was brought up by really strict parents who would not condone that in any means and any fashion. So what's the role of parents in ensuring that their children do not even attempt it to begin with? Because as Chinyere says, it starts off with just that one incident of that one time of you trying it before you get addicted. So what can parents do, Evelyn?
All right. For parents, we need to start at the level of from the home first. Okay. We need to have good parental skills to train our children, to build good resilience, to build good skills on our children, to have a good family value, to be a role model to our children. You can't be a parent who take excessive alcohol, who smokes cigarettes excessively, who do things, and you want your children to come out the opposite way. No, you should be a role model to your children. Build good values to them. Let them have this spirit of, even if my parents are not there, I can make good decisions. Okay, like Chinyere says, to start is not a problem. It's coming out of it that it's the problem. So parents need to also learn how to not to use scare tactics to talk about drugs to their children. Many parents have adopted that approach in terms of once you smoke cannabis, you run mad. Children have found out that is a false message. It's a myth. So if you continue providing false message, that is why we talk about this better knowledge for better care. You need to have good knowledge to be able to teach your children. It's just like what we are talking about now. Self-education, you need to provide that for your children. You don't have to dwell in the past. Oh no, in our own days, nobody taught us that, and we still come out good, But now you need to provide good information that your children should have those skills to be able to, when they have this peer pressure, when they come in contact with this boredom and every other things that can lead people to start taking drugs, they can be able to make a positive decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. Manali, we're going to bring you in for your final word, and especially speaking with your cap of a nutritionist on what can people do to improve their nutrition and their nutrition, basically, which would help them stay away from the dependence on drugs. Is there something that can be done professionally?
Yeah, there are many healthy superfoods which are available locally these days and which can be administered and taken by them, which can help them, into a complete holistic building of their body. Plus a bunch of complex carbs, good proteins and good fats can definitely help them to stay healthy and fit so that they can be deprived from these drugs. See, when a sportsman administers these drugs on its own self, it does not it does not only affect his health, but it also affects the health of his family, the society, everyone, because there is a behavioral change in the pattern. And this is how the addiction starts. And then if at all he is going through any pressure or depression, anxiety, or any financial issues, then this addiction leads to legal issues too, because he may end up into, stealing or robbery and such kind of things, or any unprotected things. So this issue needs to be highlighted worldwide, which I feel is. And coming to the health sector, yes, there are once you have a complete balanced nutrition, good hydration, plus, as Evelyn said, this education should start at the basic level of when they are schooling. So when this starts, they definitely be they will restrict themselves from entering into the space of addiction. Plus, one more thing which needs to be noticed here is, apart from this recreational drugs and hard substance abuse, there are some prescriptional drugs too, which people try to take them as an addiction. The painkillers, the tranquilizers, the stress buster pills. These pills also are often taken by sportsmen and various individuals who are facing some depression issues. They do an overuse of or an abuse of this prescriptional medicines also. So to begin with, apart from education at the basic level, the government should also take some strong steps on marketing and selling of these products.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Also, like they've all said, like UNODC, like the theme for this year, education, the knowledge remains extremely important. So I would leave it to you for your final words.
Most definitely, better knowledge
this.
for better care. It couldn't be summarized, in a better way. I believe this is our opportunity to speak out to all the children who are watching and looking up to Andy, yourself as a man on television, a successful broadcast journalist, and myself as well. Don't do drugs. Don't even start it, because it's so difficult to stop. And the impact that it has on your psychological well-being, on your physical well-being is tremendous. It's not worth it. There are many ways you can deal with your anxiety, many ways you can deal with, depression, is by seeking clinical help for this. Seek professionals to speak with, and everything will be okay. Trust me. Everyone goes through the pressures of life. That's one thing that conversation I believe we need to have more often. That everyone faces low moments. It's not an exclusive to just the poor and exclusive to just the rich. Everyone goes through it.
And it's worse during this Corona times. Yes. Everybody has had a moment where they've had to question themselves or what they're doing, or where you feel like an imposter. So we don't need to demonize these things. We don't also need to just paint it as bad. We need to understand that we all have these issues. We all have these thoughts. And so how you approach it, how you learn to know better, to be able to take care of yourself, remains extremely important. And so it's good we have this conversation. It's good we are having this conversation.
What do you do to take care of yourself?
So I listen to music a lot. I like to walk out. But to be honest, there are times where even music is no longer enough. And then I try to work out. For some people, it's sleep. But for me, mostly music or TV, I try to distract myself. It's not always the most helpful, but it's a start in helping yourself. And then fitness and working out does help a lot. I do have a punching bag, so I think that was a punching bag. So that's helpful.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing yours. For me, it's my faith. I believe that's a very integral part that has really sustained me. I remember in university, I would call my mom on the phone. I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel very down. She would pray, and automatically I feel a lot better. So my faith is definitely the first one. Then to relax and just get the pressure off, I just log into Netflix or one of these movie sites, and I just enjoy. Exactly.
Sometimes YouTube helps. You go to watch one YouTube video, you find yourself watching another, and 2 hours later you're still there. So I get that.
So we hope those people who are watching, everyone who's watching today, has found some way of relieving the stress, the anxiety that comes with our everyday hustling and bustling. Everything will be okay. Say no to drugs. Don't do drugs. And if you're already doing drugs, please find proper clinical support for you to overcome this. You can do it. We believe in you. The Weekend Show is fully behind you. We'll take a short break right now. When we return, we'll reveal why we're wearing our sports jerseys today. Don't go anywhere.